In this video, we're going to be having a look at what our needs are for health and damage. We're going to be checking out briefly where we're at with our work breakdown structure, and we're going to be going through our health and damage philosophies to see what your game is going to turn out like when you've got everything implemented. Okay, we're back in the village, and we're at the point where our game is just about to transition from feeling like a tech demo to feeling like a game. This is such an exciting point in the project. I love this. And we're saying to ourselves, what should we do with our enemies? What's their health? How do they attack? What's the relationship? We've got 3. Well, I've got 3 at the moment. You might have more than that. 3 enemies in here. And how hard do they hit? And how many hit points do I have? And there's a lot of things that are going to start to really come together. And we're going to have to start making some decisions. And soon I'll be showing you guys our master spreadsheet. And we'll be talking about stats and strength and upgrades and modifiers. There is a lot of RPG awesomeness to come. And it gets really deep and really detailed. For now, we need to just start one step at a time. What are we trying to do here? Let's zoom out, literally, let's zoom out and go big picture. We're trying to create an A to B combat moment that's compelling, where the player starts down here, runs through, has combat, and then gets to the end. And the whole thing is enjoyable and engaging. It takes 5 to 7 minutes. And at the end of it, the player says, I want more of this. And we say, we now know what sort of game we're making. We know what we need in our game. We know what how to approach the next phase of our game. So that's what we're trying to do here. And we haven't looked at it for a while, but I want to jump in and just have a little look at where we're at on our work breakdown structure. Hope you guys have been updating and maintaining yours. In terms of game vision, we're doing really well, I think. We've got a ton of stuff done. The art direction, if I put some ticks in here, we've got our reference images, we've looked at our art concept document. We don't have our target screen yet, but from our point of view, we're working on it. Mikey's doing some great work there, and we're talking about that. And we'll do a little bit more of this art conversation in a few videos' time when we set dress our level and make it look a little bit sexier than it is now. So we're making good progress there. High-level story, we haven't talked a lot about that, but there'll be more story things coming down the line soon. We've talked about it a little bit in the one-page, not RPG, that's the whole thing, the one-page GDD, we've been talking about it. And I know you guys have been thinking about it. I've been thinking about it a lot in terms of who is the player, and I've gone from my player being somewhat generic to giving the player more and more personality, where the player, I'm thinking now, is an old guy. He's like 86 years old, he's a farmer, and now is the time of his life where he's got to go off and do the quests. He's been putting it off for many years, but he can't put it off any longer because he's starting to get pretty old. So that's my plan. I'm starting to get a feel for that. And I want you guys to be thinking about this, feeling it, pondering it. You know, when you're going for a walk in the morning, I hope you go for a walk every now and again. So when you're off for your walk, or when you're taking a shower, or when you're at school when you should be paying attention, thinking about these things and just pondering, what is my story and who are the people in it and how does it all fit together? Okay, so we're making good progress on that. And combat movement, we've been doing mostly that to date. We've been looking at the actual combat. We've been putting in basic attacks. And in terms of what we looked at a little while ago, the enemies can run at player, yep. Characters have hit points, yep. Enemy can attack player, yep, and player can attack enemies. This is great. This is all in here now. We've got flags against that. Previously, we can go in and turn those flags into tick boxes. Clicking on that. I won't make you guys watch me go through this whole process, but at some point, I'm going to go and do that to update it. And we said special attacks, they come down the line. Then we're not ready for those yet. Enemy AI, move to player, yep. Attack player, yes. Heal, not yet. Runaway, not yet. Pathfinding, yes. And special attacks, that's detailed, not coming just yet. So we've got a lot of stuff that we're putting in there. It's coming along really nicely. You guys have been doing some fantastic functionality. We've got character stats is a big bucket that's coming soon, probably in the next section of the course. We'll get really deep into that and having strength actually have an impact on your damage and so on. And so the reason I'm showing you this is to show you that what we're doing in our whole process is doing both vertical and horizontal slices. We haven't talked about this a great deal. And a horizontal slice, obviously it's horizontal, and if you've got your game, then you say we are going to do a fairly shallow representation. This is the shallowness here. If it was deep, it'd be way down there. We're doing a fairly shallow representation of a number of core aspects of the flow of our game. So we've got a little bit of story, we've got a little bit of levels, we've got a little bit of, what else have we got in there? A little bit of the art and the aesthetics and the flavor, etc. But at the same time, and a few other things, etc., that we've got a little bit of, so that we get some flow. So it's an RPG where we actually need to work through the game. We flow through. We don't just, it's not a combat arena game. We want to have a little bit of flow to get a representation there. And as you guys know, we've been going, so this is the horizontal here. Horizontal, sorry to jump around a little bit. As you know, we've been going very vertical on our combat. So this is combat here. Combat, where we go deep. We have, just in terms of story, we might have a quest giver sometime soon. It's just one guy who says, hey, get into town quick. That's the depth of it at the moment. But in terms of combat stats, and we're getting into abilities and attributes and damage and hit points and modifiers, and we'll have primary attacks and secondary attacks. So this is our goal, to have this very deep so that we can hang our game on combat. And then we'll jump into the next thing, which will be probably something levels or story, and we'll get really deep on those. And at the same time, we're going to be building a little bit more of our entire horizontal flow, like so. So that, let me make this a different color, the horizontal. So each time we do a vertical, each time we go really deep on a particular aspect, we're going to put in more and more of the horizontal as well. Just to clarify where we're at with that in terms of what we're doing with combat and what we're doing with the rest of our game. But it does mean, because we do have this horizontal component, we can't just focus on combat. We also want to think about some things like the character progression, how the character levels up. How many levels are we going to have in our game, and how's the story flow, and who are the enemies? Because for us to make good combat decisions in here, for us to know exactly how to implement our basic attack and our health and our power-ups, we need to know what's the rest of the game going to be. So that's why we can't just do a vertical for an RPG type game. We also need to be touching on these other aspects. And it's for that reason that I want to talk to you guys in this particular conversation about our health and damage paradigms. So I'll jump back into here and show you that a couple of things about our enemies that we're looking to tune. Most probably in the next video, we're going to finalize these. Well, when I say finalize, we're going to get something in there. So for this guy, he has got a number of different qualities. If I actually click on the enemy himself, not just his body, then when we look down here, we're looking, mostly I'm interested in health points and damage. That's what I really want to know at the moment. So do I give this guy 100 or 200 or 500? And if I give him 500, what do I give the player? Do I give the player 1,000? And then how do we figure out? Do I just make it 500 and then run at him and see if I can kill him? But then what happens if I've got 5 of them together? Do I make them 100? There's all these things that if you just try to guess at it, it's going to be tough. It's going to take a long time, and any little tweaks and changes will leave you scratching your head as to what should I do. And often if you're in a certain mood yourself, that might change. Like if you're in the mood to have something really tough, then you just might make all the enemies really tough. And if you're in the if you're just not in the mood to have to put up with fighting guys and having them, beat you, then you might make them really easy. So we want to avoid being in the mood or not in the mood. And for that reason, I want to talk to you about health and damage paradigms. I flashed this up briefly a moment ago. Now, if you're the sort of person who reads a slide as soon as it comes up, feel free to pause the video right now, check out what all the words are so you're not going to be distracted and so you can concentrate. What we're doing here, it's on a continuum from 1 to 10. That's what this line up the top here means. Let me get my little pointer doodad. There we go. Zoing. That's pretty cool. So from 1 through to 10, and this is not a score. It's not 10 is good and 1 is bad. It's nothing like that. It's just saying where are you placed. And we've got these particular attributes or these particular continuums. What I mean by continuum is that it goes all the way from one side through to the other side, and there's points the whole way along. It's not this or this. It's somewhere in between. And for each of these, we're going to have a look at what your game is in your mind currently, so that we can use these sorts of things to make decisions on the health and the damage in here. How do I know whether it's 500 or 100? Well, I've thought about it in here about what sort of flavor, experience, feeling, mood I'm going for. Okay, that's enough preamble to that. Let's get into it. So the axes here from roguelike permadeath. If you guys, I'm sure you know what most of this stuff means, but I'll explain it a little bit for those of you who aren't exactly sure from an English language point of view. A roguelike game is where you have just one life, and when your health gets to 0, that's it, game over. You have to restart. Enter the Gungeon is a game that's it's not an RPG, it's a shooty type game, top down. What are they called? Dual stick shooters. Where I like that one a lot. You know, shoot, and when you killed, bang, that's it. And you might have had a 2-minute experience, or you might have a 2-hour experience. Then you have to start again. So that's at one end, and all the way out the other end is the no-cost save points, where no matter what happens, if you die, boom, you just save again. And I call it no cost because somewhere in say an 8 might be where you have save points, you can reload wherever you want. Maybe this is more of a 6, but there's a cost, and that cost might be in time. So, for example, in some MMOs, back when I used to play World of Warcraft, I would die regularly, and then I'd have to run back to find my corpse and find all the loot or the stuff or the things on my corpse. And there's a cost, there's a time cost. You don't lose any stats or abilities, but you have to go and find yourself if you want to get all the stuff back. And it might also be that whenever you die, you lose gold, or whenever you die, you lose a certain amount of experience or a certain amount of attributes. So your game is going to be somewhere along this continuum in terms of being like you're completely dead, or no worries, just jump back in. Now the next one is from no healing to tons of healing. Again, some games might be you just can't heal back up again. And a lot of these, there's a lot of overlap. So you might have a roguelike and there's no healing. You might have a roguelike and you have a little bit of healing. Or, sometimes roguelikes that's just it. You just get 5 little health blobs, and once they're done, they're done. So no healing, all the way out, tons of healing. Healing potions, right at the very extreme. There's a lot of shooters nowadays where if you just stand still for a little while, your health slowly goes back up to full. Other games where if you stand still for a moment, your health just goes vroom, straight up. Basically, they're saying each combat moment, each combat arena, or each combat session is where things are difficult or tricky. But once that's over, we want you to be full health, so we don't have to worry about putting health and tuning health and having, do we have 3 health potions here or 2 health packs there? A game that does a variation of that is Battleheart Legacy, where you have, I think it's 5 times that you can heal yourself back up to full per dungeon or per area that you go into. It's only 5, it's always 5. When they're gone, that's it. So essentially it's like having 5 lives, but you choose when you do the healing. And there's no health packs or potions, you have 5 every single time you go in and do battle. Okay, also 1-hit health all the way up to unkillable. So you might have running around and you have the type of game where you have to be very skillful not to be hit, because just one time of being hit or getting through your shield or through your defenses and boom, you're gone. Or it could be you just have so much health, or you're just unkillable. And your game is not about can I kill the enemies without being killed myself. It might be about puzzling through something, and combat is just a way to distract you from puzzling, or it's a way of distracting you from a time point of view. So you need to get from A to B in a minute, and these guys are getting in your way. You can kill them easily, or they can't kill you, but they're stopping you from achieving your goal. So it doesn't always have to be you've got a certain amount of health points. Easy combat skill all the way up to hardcore combat skill. And what I mean by easy is you click, your guy hits the enemy dies. That's pretty easy. Hardcore might be dodging and sidestepping, and you have to cast this and then step there and push that, and you're using all, you've got 28 keys on the keyboard, so it's kind of like RPG meets flight sim, might be hardcore combat skill. Relaxing combat, all the way up to stressful combat. So if you want your game to be, combat's kind of fun and I hit them and it's all pretty, straightforward, then it might be very relaxing, and you want that game type of combat. You don't want it to be where the player is feeling uncomfortable or stressed. Or you might have it all the way up to the other end. You might have a very hardcore, extreme, moody, dark, psychotic game where you want the player to be stressed out when there's combat. At any point, there could be a critical that could just kill them in one hit. So, if you're fighting enemies and they do a big wind-up, and if that wind-up hits you, boom, you're gone, and you have to go and restart back to wherever. So relaxing through to stressful combat. In terms of upgrades, so no player upgrades would be you start with a character. The character has, you do 10 points of damage, you have 100 hit points, that's it, forever. There's no change to that whatsoever. Or it could be everything is upgradable, so that's at level 1, you're 10 and 100. At level 2, you get to decide, do you want to put your stats into strength or constitution or dexterity, or do you want to put it into ranged or into melee or sword or shield, so you've got everything upgradable. And this is a very interesting continuum. No player upgrades is going to be a far easier game for you to make, way easier to make than having everything upgradable, and far easier to tune and to balance. But is it going to be as engaging? We're making a role-playing game after all, so I assume that most of you are going to have some sort of upgrade and some sort of progression. And then the last axis that I've got here, the last continuum, is all combat or all story. And they're the very, very extreme. So in all combat, it's just go. There's no story, there's no cutscenes, there's no, this character name is this. It's just, you're in there fighting. It's very a fighty game. All the way through to, it's just story, story, story. And, you might do a little bit of combat, but it's just there for flavor. You're basically just making an interactable movie where there is progression. It is technically a role-playing game, but it's mostly story. So here are the health and damage paradigms, or they're more health and damage philosophies. Let me just do a quick change on that. So it's relevant philosophies, live editing. Health and damage philosophies. And what I want you to do, I'm sure you guys have guessed, is make some decisions. Make some decisions on your game. So place your game on each continuum by giving it a value from 1 to 10, and be sure to write this somewhere. Don't just look at it and go, I think it's a 6. Write it down. And here's the hint for you guys. I haven't introduced our formal GDD yet, but we've been gathering information and making decisions and writing some stuff down so that when it comes time to say, right, now we're going to create a GDD, you don't look at it and say, that looks very big and difficult and I don't want to do it. We can just say, go grab the things you've done already, plonk it in the GDD, and hey presto, you've got started. So I'll jump back on the other slide so that you can see that. Pause the video in a moment, and I will see you when you've gone through that exercise. Okay, and welcome back. How'd you go with that? Hopefully it's making sense. As I said before, don't stress if you're not sure. Just give it your best shot. Just go with your gut for now. We're working through our prototype. Everything can change. And what I'm going to do is just briefly show you where I am with our game so you can see what I'm creating. If you're following us fairly literally, then you'll be following this fairly much as well. And it's great to see how you're going to deviate. Permadeath, no, not really. We're going to have save points. It's going to be pretty forgiving. You won't lose anything when you die. We want the player to have an experience where it's humorous and it's quirky, but not punishing. Healing, I think we're going to have a good chunk of healing. There'll be lots of healing going on in our game. It won't be that hard to find potions or to heal yourself. And as a result, we'll probably have that you receive a lot of damage, and you can heal yourself for a lot of damage. So it's that constant transaction of, you're an old dude, so you're getting hurt a lot, so you're constantly propping yourself back up. And in terms of 1 hit health through to unkillable, well, I think we'll have a 6 on that. We want combat still to be a challenge, still to be where you need to concentrate and have a certain amount of hit points. You don't have a tiny amount, and you don't have a gigantic amount. It's kind of midpoint on that. Easy combat skill, hardcore, I think our controls are going to be fairly straightforward. Run up and hit, move around, dodge a little bit. If there's bosses that are doing certain abilities, then you need to get your timing right, but it's not going to be lots of complicated. There's certainly going to be no flight sim in our game, but it's probably not a game that your grandmother's going to be able to figure out how to play unless she's a gamer. Relaxing to stressful, well, it's no Dark Souls, it's no Ninja Gaiden, it's somewhere in between. We want combat to feel like combat, but not to freak people out. Player upgrades, I'm still very undecided on this, just how upgradable. I think we're going to be somewhat vanilla. What I mean by that is not too unusual, not too crazy, that as you level up, you can choose a couple of places to put your stats and abilities so that you guys see us going through the process of having upgradable things, but it's not going to be choose any old path that you want so that we have so many different variables to tune. If one person just specializes in intelligence, and making sure they're able to get through the game. We want to have it so that we're not going to have super extremes necessarily. And then all combat, all story. Well, our game's going to be a bunch of combat and a bunch of story. Probably, to be honest, I think it's going to be more of a 3 or a 4, a little bit more combat, but we're not exactly sure yet. We're not going to have tons of cutscenes and stories and whatever, but somewhere in between. So that's where we are with our game, and I hope you did well on your exercise. Make sure you write that down, because we're going to be referring to this and thinking about it, and in the next video, we're going to get in there and be putting in the health and starting to make this game feel like a game.